The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and crystal that caught the light of distant stars. Inside, the Galactic Council gathered for the first time in 3 cycles, and the air hummed with satisfaction. Ambassador Velkson stood at the center platform, his reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among the Charax. His scales gleamed under the soft lights as he addressed the assembly. "Honored members of the Council," Velkson began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber, "I am pleased to report that the human problem has been solved. Their fleet is destroyed. Their world burns. Their government has surrendered unconditionally." A wave of approval rippled through the gathered representatives. Creatures of 1,000 different shapes and sizes shifted in their seats, their various forms of expression all showing the same emotion: relief. The humans had been troublesome, and now they were broken. Councillor Threen clicked his mandibles together in the insectoid equivalent of laughter. His compound eyes reflected the holographic display that showed Earth from orbit, smoke rising from several continents. "They called themselves the apex predators of their world," Threen said, his voice like scraping chitin. "They boasted of their wars, their resilience, their determination. Yet they fell in less than 2 rotations." Velkson activated another display. It showed the battle above Earth, or what the Charax called a battle. The human defense fleet had numbered perhaps 300 vessels. The Charax armada had brought 2,000. The engagement lasted 6 hours. By the end, burning debris was all that remained of humanity's orbital defense. "They were arrogant," Velkson continued. "When we offered them client species status, they refused. They demanded to be treated as equals." He paused for effect. "As if a species that has barely left its home system could stand alongside empires that span thousands of worlds." The council chamber erupted in what could only be described as mockery. The Methodians, with their crystalline bodies, created high-pitched tones of amusement. The Gorvalians, massive beings of muscle and fur, released deep rumbling sounds that shook the floor. Even the usually stoic Preservation, energy beings contained in magnetic fields, pulsed with colors that indicated satisfaction. But not all shared in the celebration. In the back of the chamber, observer Kelthan of the Vreen Collective remained silent. His species had been observers only for the past millennium, choosing not to vote on council matters but merely to watch and record. Something about this situation troubled him, though he could not place exactly what. 2 months earlier, the situation had been very different. Humanity had been offered a simple choice: join the Galactic Council as a client species under Charax protection, or face the consequences. Client species status meant surrendering military autonomy, paying substantial tribute, and accepting council oversight of all major decisions. Many species had accepted these terms. Those who refused were crushed. Humanity predictably refused. The human ambassador, a woman named Sarah Chen, had stood in this very chamber and delivered her government's response. Kelthan remembered her words clearly. "We did not claw our way up from the mud of our world, did not split the atom, did not reach for the stars just to bow before those who would make us slaves. Our answer is no. It will always be no." Velkson had been amused by her defiance. "Then you choose extinction," he had told her. Chen had smiled, though Kelthan noticed it did not reach her eyes. "We choose to stand. What happens next is your choice, not ours." The attack came 1 week later. Charax warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system and began their approach. The humans scrambled every vessel they had. Military ships, converted cargo haulers, even civilian craft equipped with weapons. They met the Charax fleet near the orbit of Jupiter and fought with desperate courage. They lost. The Charax advanced to Earth itself. Kinetic bombardment from orbit struck military installations, power generation facilities, and communication hubs. The bombardment was precise, calculated to break resistance without completely destroying the planet. After all, Earth had resources worth claiming. After 18 hours of bombardment, a transmission came from the surface. The human government announced unconditional surrender. All military forces were ordered to stand down. Ambassador Chen herself delivered the message, her face streaked with dirt and blood, her voice hollow with defeat. The Council had accepted the surrender and immediately began dividing human territory among member species. Earth itself would remain under direct Charax control. The colony worlds, 37 of them scattered across nearby systems, were parceled out to other Council members as rewards for their support. Now, 2 months later, Velkson presented his report on the occupation. Human resistance has been minimal, he said. A few scattered incidents on the colony worlds quickly suppressed. The species has accepted its new status. Within a generation, they will forget they ever dreamed of independence. Threen nodded his approval, a lesson for any species that might consider defying the Council. Power respects only greater power. The humans had neither the strength nor the wisdom to recognize their place. The displays changed again, showing peaceful scenes from occupied human worlds. Citizens going about their daily lives under Council governance. No signs of rebellion. No indication of resistance. Just a defeated people accepting their fate. Kelthan watched the images and felt his unease grow. Something was wrong. He had studied humans during the brief period before the war. They were a contradictory species, capable of great compassion and terrible violence. Their history was written in blood and achievement, a species that had nearly destroyed itself multiple times yet somehow always survived. They had faced extinction events, ice ages, plagues, and wars and emerged stronger each time. Could such a species truly accept defeat so easily? His thoughts were interrupted by an aide approaching Velkson. The Cherek's ambassador listened to the whispered message, and for just a moment Kelthan saw confusion cross his face. Then it was gone, replaced by the same arrogant certainty. A minor matter, Velkson announced to the Council. One of our patrol fleets investigating the human colony of New Titan has failed to report. Likely a communication malfunction. We will send a repair vessel to investigate. The Council barely acknowledged this news, too pleased with their victory to worry about minor technical issues. They continued their meeting, discussing the redistribution of human resources, the placement of garrison fleets, and the establishment of new trade routes through former human territory. As the session concluded, Kelthan remained in his observation seat, watching the other Council members file out. They laughed and conversed, pleased with themselves. They had defeated the humans quickly and efficiently. They had proven the superiority of the Council's military might. They had sent a message to the entire galaxy about the cost of defiance. But Kelthan could not shake the memory of Ambassador Chen's smile as she delivered humanity's refusal. It had been the smile of someone who knew something others did not. The smile of a player who had already calculated several moves ahead. The lights in the chamber dimmed as it emptied. Kelthan finally rose and made his way to the exit. As he passed through the doorway, he paused and looked back at the display still showing Earth from orbit. The planet was scarred but intact, beaten but not destroyed. He wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake. Not in attacking the humans, but in assuming that destroying their fleet and bombing their world meant victory. In his long life, Kelthan had learned one truth about intelligent species. The most dangerous ones were not those who never fell, but those who knew how to rise again. In the depths of space far from the Council's eyes, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of a vessel that officially did not exist. Around her, dozens of ships held position in the shadow of a dead moon. She looked at the faces of her crew, saw the determination there, and allowed herself a real smile this time. "They think we're defeated," she said quietly. "Good. Let them think that a little longer." 3 months before Earth burned, Admiral Sarah Chen sat in a classified briefing room deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around the table were the 15 most important people in human space. Military commanders, intelligence directors, civilian leaders. They all knew what was coming. The Chereks had made their demands clear, and humanity's answer would lead to war. "We cannot win a direct confrontation," General Marcus Okoye said bluntly. The head of Earth's combined military forces did not believe in sugarcoating reality. Their fleet outnumbers ours 6-1. Their weapons are more advanced. Their shields are stronger. In a straight fight we lose, Chen nodded slowly. She had known this for months. Every simulation, every war game, every strategic analysis came to the same conclusion. Humanity's brief time among the stars had not prepared them for a war with an empire that had conquered worlds for thousands of years. "Then we don't fight fair," she said. The statement hung in the air for a moment. Dr. Kenji Tanaka, the chief of advanced weapons development, leaned forward. "What are you proposing?" Chen activated the holographic display in the center of the table. It showed the human sphere of influence. Earth at the center, 37 colony worlds spreading outward, mining stations, research facilities, and countless smaller installations. "We make them think they've won," she said. We give them Earth. The room erupted in protest. Giving up Earth? Surrendering humanity's homeworld? It was unthinkable. Chen let them shout for a moment, then raised her hand for silence. Listen to me, she said, her voice cutting through the noise. The Cheriks want to make an example of us. They want a quick, decisive victory that will discourage other species from defying the Council. So we give them one. We make it look like they've crushed us completely. And then, this from Captain Marcus Webb, head of Special Forces Operations. He was young for his rank, but he understood unconventional warfare better than anyone in the room. Then we hit them from everywhere at once, Chen replied. She gestured at the display. We've been in space for barely a century. We have 37 colony worlds. The Council thinks that's all we have. They're wrong. Over the next hour, Chen laid out the plan that would come to be known as Operation Hornet's Nest. It was audacious, desperate, and possibly insane. It was also humanity's only chance. The colonies would not fight during the initial invasion. Instead, they would appear to surrender immediately, showing no resistance. This would convince the Council that humanity's spirit was broken. But appearances would be deceiving. Before the war began, key personnel and resources would be evacuated from every major human installation. Shipyards would be dismantled and moved to hidden locations in deep space. Weapons stockpiles would be dispersed. Command and control facilities would be relocated to hollowed-out asteroids and dead moons. Every ship that could be spared would be sent to secret rendezvous points far from known human territory. When the Chariks attacked, humanity would fight just hard enough to make it look real. Ships would be sacrificed to sell the illusion. Earth itself would be bombarded. The surrender would seem genuine because, in a sense, it would be. The people remaining on Earth would truly believe they had lost, but they would be wrong. You're talking about abandoning billions of people, someone said. I'm talking about saving them, Chen corrected. If we fight and lose, the Chariks will destroy us completely. If we pretend to lose, we buy time to prepare a real defense, a real counterattack. The vote was close, but it passed. Humanity would gamble everything on deception. Now, 2 months after Earth's fall, that gamble was paying off. Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant, a destroyer that had supposedly been destroyed at the Battle of Jupiter. Around her ship, the gathered fleet grew larger every day as vessels arrived from hidden bases across human space. Status report, she ordered. Commander Lisa Park, her executive officer, consulted her displays. We have 347 combat vessels operational, another 200 in various states of repair. The construction yards in Sectors 7 and 12 have completed 18 new destroyers. The heavy cruisers will be ready in 3 weeks. Chen did the math in her head. Before the war, humanity had fielded just over 300 combat vessels. The Cheriks believed they had destroyed most of them. In reality, fewer than 80 ships had been truly lost. The rest had been evacuated, hidden, and were now being reinforced with new construction. But numbers were not enough. The Cheriks could still bring overwhelming force if given time to respond. Humanity needed an edge, and Dr. Tanaka was working on providing it. Chen made her way to the engineering section, where Tanaka had set up a temporary laboratory. She found him bent over a workstation, studying energy readings with intense concentration. "Tell me you have good news," she said. Tanaka looked up, his eyes red from lack of sleep. The Council species have been using the same basic shield technology for millennia. They've refined it, made it more efficient, but the fundamental principles haven't changed. Why fix what isn't broken, right?
Meaning?
Meaning their shields have a weakness, a very specific frequency resonance that, if exploited, causes catastrophic cascade failure. He pulled up a simulation showing a Council warship's shields collapsing under a carefully tuned energy burst. I've designed a torpedo that can exploit this weakness. One hit and their shields drop completely. Chen felt a surge of hope. How many can you build? I have 100 ready now. The fabrication systems can produce 50 more per day. Tanaka hesitated. There's a catch. The torpedoes are short range and relatively slow. We'll need to get close to use them effectively. Close range meant danger. It meant casualties. But it also meant a chance. Do it, Chen ordered. Build as many as you can. Across human space, the scattered colonies were not as defeated as they appeared. On New Titan, Captain Webb walked through what looked like a quiet settlement under occupation. Cherik soldiers patrolled the streets. Council administrators ran the government offices. Everything seemed peaceful. But beneath the surface, quite literally, a different story played out. In tunnels and bunkers hidden below the colony, resistance cells prepared for the day they would strike back. Weapons were stockpiled. Intelligence was gathered. Sabotage was planned. Webb met with the resistance leaders in a hidden chamber 300 meters underground. There were 15 of them, representing different cells across the colony. They looked tired, stressed, but determined. "How long do we have to wait?" one of them asked. Her name was Sarah, too, Sarah Martinez, and she had lost her husband in the orbital bombardment of Earth. "Soon," Webb told her. "Admiral Chen is almost ready. When the signal comes, you'll know what to do. The Cherriks have garrison troops in every major city," another leader said. "They have orbital weapons platforms. If we rise up and the fleet doesn't come, the fleet will come," Webb said with certainty. "I know Chen. She wouldn't have left us here if she didn't have a plan to get us out." He spent the next hour going over the plan. When the counterattack began, the resistance cells would strike simultaneously across all occupied colonies. They would target communication hubs, weapon depots, and command centers. The goal was not to defeat the occupation forces, but to create chaos and confusion that would prevent them from responding effectively to the fleet's attack. On other colonies, similar meetings took place. Millions of humans who appeared defeated were actually just waiting for their moment. The Cherriks thought they had broken humanity's spirit. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back on the Defiant, Chen reviewed the final preparations. Every piece was falling into place. The fleet was assembled. The new weapons were ready. The resistance cells were prepared. Intelligence reports showed that the Council had dispersed their forces, believing the war was over. They were vulnerable. Chen thought about the cost of what was coming. More people would die. More ships would burn. War was never clean or easy, but the alternative was slavery, and that was unacceptable. She had not told the Council the full truth in her final message before Earth fell. She had said humanity chose to stand. What she meant was that humanity chose to never kneel, no matter the cost. "Admiral," Commander Park said, interrupting her thoughts. "All fleet elements report ready. All resistance cells confirm receipt of activation codes. We're ready to execute." Chen took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would decide humanity's future. She thought about Earth, still smoldering under Cherrik's occupation. She thought about the billions of humans living under Council rule, waiting for hope. She thought about the ships and crews ready to follow her into battle. "Send the signal," she ordered. "Operation Hornet's Nest is a go. All units begin jump calculations. We're going home." Across human space, hidden fleets began to move. On occupied worlds, resistance cells received their activation codes and prepared to strike. In laboratories and construction yards, the final weapons were loaded onto ships. The Galactic Council had smiled, thinking humans were defeated. They had celebrated their easy victory. They had divided humanity's territory among themselves like spoils of war. They were about to discover that humanity's surrender had been the opening move, not the final one. The real war was just beginning. The Cherrik's patrol fleet commander was named Vecton, and he was bored. He sat in his command chair aboard the destroyer Relentless, watching the occupied human colony of New Titan drift past on the view screen. Nothing ever happened here. The humans had surrendered completely. They went to work, came home, and caused no trouble. Vecton checked the time. His patrol shift would end in 2 hours. Then he could return to the main garrison ship and get some decent food. Colony duty was supposed to be a reward, an easy assignment after the battles. Instead, it felt like punishment. "Commander, I'm detecting an anomaly," his sensor officer said suddenly. Vecton sighed. "Probably another asteroid or piece of space debris. Specify. Energy signature at coordinates 47 Mark III. It matches no known natural phenomenon. It's..." The officer paused. "Commander, it's a ship." "Multiple ships. They just appeared." Vecton sat up straight. "Identify them. Signature matches human vessels." "But that's impossible." The human fleet was destroyed. Vecton opened his mouth to order battle stations, but he never got the chance. The first torpedo struck the Relentless amidships, and the shields that should have stopped it simply vanished. The second torpedo found the exposed hull and tore through armor like paper. The third hit the reactor. The Relentless died in flames, and Vecton died with it, never understanding what had gone wrong. Across 37 star systems, The same scene played out simultaneously. Human warships appeared from nowhere, striking fast and hard at the scattered Council forces. The attack was perfectly coordinated, hitting every occupied system at exactly the same moment. On the bridge of the Defiant, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Every green icon represented a human ship. Every red icon was a Council vessel. The red icons were disappearing rapidly. New Titan garrison fleet destroyed, Commander Park reported. Kepler colony reports successful engagement. Epsilon station is clear. Ross 128 is encountering heavier resistance but is still on schedule. The key to the operation was speed and surprise. The Council forces were dispersed, confident the war was over. They had not maintained battle readiness. Their shields were at minimal power. Their weapons were not charged. They were easy targets for an enemy they thought no longer existed. But Chen knew this advantage would not last. Soon the Council would realize what was happening and respond. That was why the next phase had to happen immediately. Signal all ground teams, she ordered. Execute liberation operations. On New Titan, Captain Webb stood in the underground bunker surrounded by resistance fighters. When the signal came through, he did not hesitate. Move out, he commanded. Remember your targets. Fast focused, no unnecessary risks. We disable their response capability. Then we hold until the fleet can land reinforcements. The resistance cells emerged from hiding like a swarm of angry hornets. They had spent months learning the patterns of their occupiers, identifying weaknesses, planning for this moment. Now they struck with precision. Sarah Martinez led her cell against the colony's main communication hub. The Charax guards were completely unprepared. They had been told human resistance was broken. They had grown complacent. Martinez's team cut through them quickly, then destroyed the communication arrays that would have let the garrison call for help. Across the colony, similar strikes took out power distribution centers, weapon depots, and command posts. Within 30 minutes, the Charax garrison was blind, isolated, and unable to coordinate a response. Many surrendered. Those who fought died quickly. Webb coordinated the operation from a captured command center, watching reports flow in from across the colony. All primary targets secured, he reported to the Defiant. Colony is ours. Minimal casualties on our side. Acknowledged, Chen replied. Stand by for fleet support. Hold what you've taken. The pattern repeated across every occupied human world. The carefully planned uprisings caught the Council forces completely off guard. Within hours, every human colony was back under human control. The Council's easy occupation had become a disaster. In the Kepler expanse, a major trade route between Council territories, Ambassador Velkson received the first reports of the attacks. He sat in his quarters aboard the battleship Dominator, reviewing routine paperwork when his aide burst in without knocking. Ambassador, we're receiving distress calls from multiple sectors. The humans are attacking. Velkson stared at the aide. That's impossible. The human fleet was destroyed. The reports are confirmed, sir. 37 systems under simultaneous attack. Garrison forces are being overwhelmed. We've lost contact with most occupied colonies. Velkson felt ice in his veins. He had orchestrated Earth's defeat personally. He had watched their ships burn. This could not be happening. How many human ships? Estimates vary. At least 300 confirmed vessels. Possibly more, 300. The number struck Velkson like a physical blow. Before the war, humans had 300 ships. They were supposed to have fewer than 50 left. Where had these ships come from? The answer came to him slowly, horribly. The surrender had been a deception. The humans had sacrificed Earth to buy time. They had hidden their strength while pretending to be broken. And like a fool, Velkson had believed it. Mobilize the reserve fleets, he ordered. Send recall orders to all Council vessels. We're going to crush them once and for all. But mobilizing would take time. The Council forces were scattered across hundreds of systems, confident in their victory. Pulling them back together would take days, possibly weeks. And every day gave the humans more time to fortify their positions. Velkson activated a secure channel to the Council chambers. Counselor Threen appeared on the display, his compound eyes reflecting agitation. I assume you've heard, Threen said without preamble. The humans are attacking. They've retaken their colonies. Not just attacking. They're winning. Threen's mandibles clicked rapidly. I'm receiving reports of Council ships destroyed by weapons we've never seen before. Their shields are failing catastrophically. How is this possible? They must have developed new weapons during their hiding period. We underestimated them. We underestimated them. Thrane's voice rose in pitch. You assured us they were broken. You told us the war was over. Now we have a renewed conflict and the council is scrambling to respond. Velkson felt anger replace his fear. You voted for this war as eagerly as I did. You celebrated when Earth burned. Don't blame me for your own short-sightedness. The argument was interrupted by new reports flooding in. A human fleet had attacked a council supply depot in the Arcturus sector. Another human force had destroyed a Charix patrol group near Proxima. Everywhere the council forces were reeling, trying to understand what was happening. Chen watched the chaos from the Defiance Bridge. The first phase had gone better than expected. Surprise had been total. Losses had been minimal. Every occupied colony was back under human control. The council forces that had seemed so overwhelming were now scattered and confused. But she knew the easy part was over. The council would regroup. They would bring their full strength to bear. The real test was coming. Admiral, we're receiving transmission from an unknown vessel, the communications officer reported. They're identifying themselves as Observer Kelthan of the Vreen Collective. Chen frowned. She knew the Vreen. They were council members but had observer status only. They never involved themselves in conflicts. Put him through. The holographic display showed a being that looked vaguely humanoid, but made of swirling energy patterns. Kelthan's voice was soft, almost musical. Admiral Chen, I thought you were dead. Many people did. That was the point. I suspected something was wrong, Kelthan said. Your surrender came too easily. A species as stubborn as humans would not break so quickly. I should have spoken up. I apologize. Why are you contacting me now? To give you information. The council is mobilizing. Velkson is calling in every ship they have. Within 10 days, you will face a force of 3,000 vessels. Your surprise is gone. Your advantage is temporary. Chen had expected this. Why help us? Kelthan's energy patterns shifted in what might have been a shrug. Because the council has grown arrogant. Because they need to learn that force alone does not ensure victory. And because I believe you will teach them that lesson if you survive. We'll survive, Chen said with more confidence than she felt. And we'll do more than that. After Kelthan disconnected, Chen called her senior staff together. The council is coming with everything they have. We have 10 days to prepare. We're going to make a stand at the Kepler expanse. It's the strategic choke point between their space and ours. If we can hold it, we control access to our territory. 3,000 ships against our 500, Commander Park said quietly. Those are not good odds. No, Chen agreed. But we don't need to destroy their fleet. We just need to prove we can't be easily beaten. We need to show the council that occupying human space will cost more than they're willing to pay. Dr. Tanaka spoke up. I have more surprises ready. New weapons, new tactics. We made them think we were defeated. Now we'll make them wish we were. Chen looked around the table at her officers. They were tired. They had lost friends and family. They had sacrificed their homeworld for this chance. But they were not defeated. Not even close. 10 days, she said. We make every moment count. When the council arrives, they're going to find out that humanity doesn't know how to quit. The Kepler expanse was not truly empty space. It was a region of dust, gas, and debris from a stellar collision that had happened millions of years ago. Navigation was tricky. Sensors were unreliable. Most ships avoided it when possible. That made it the perfect place for a battle. Admiral Chen stood on the Defiance Bridge watching the final preparations. Her fleet was positioned throughout the expanse, using the dust clouds and debris fields for cover. 500 human ships against the coming storm. She had ordered the construction of automated defense platforms, scattered them throughout the region like mines. Dr. Tanaka had supplied weapons she barely understood but trusted completely. The council fleet is approaching, Commander Park announced. Estimated arrival in 2 hours, Chen nodded. 2 hours to wait. 2 hours to think about what was coming. She had fought in the battle above Earth, had watched good ships and good people die. This would be worse. Much worse, but there was no choice. If they ran now, the council would hunt them across the galaxy. If they surrendered, humanity would become slaves forever. The only option was to stand and fight and show the council that humanity could not be easily beaten. Across the fleet, similar thoughts ran through the minds of thousands of crew members. They were scared. They were determined. They were human, and they had something the council forces lacked. They had everything to lose. Ambassador Velkson stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Inevitable Victory. Around his ship, 3,000 council vessels held formation. The largest armada assembled in 50 years. The humans would be crushed so thoroughly that no species would ever dare defy the council again. "All vessels report ready," his tactical officer announced. "We've detected the human fleet ahead. They're outnumbered 6-1. "Good," Velkson said. "Send a message to the fleet. No mercy, no survivors. The humans wanted to fight? We'll give them a fight they'll never forget." The council armada entered the Kepler expanse in battle formation. Their shields were at maximum. Their weapons were charged. This time there would be no surprise attacks. This time, they were ready. The first indication that things were not going according to plan came when a Charex cruiser simply exploded. One moment it was there, the next it was debris. Then another ship died. Then 3 more mines. Someone shouted on the Inevitable Victory's bridge. "They've seeded the expanse with mines," Velkson cursed. The dust made sensors unreliable. The humans had used that to hide automated weapons throughout the region. Council ships began attempting evasive maneuvers, but that broke up their formation. Ships collided with debris fields. Some triggered more mines. The organized advance became chaos. "Forward elements report heavy casualties," the tactical officer said. "We've lost 40 ships. 40 ships from mines alone." Velkson's anger grew. "Keep pushing forward. Find the human fleet. We'll deal with their tricks once we engage them directly." Chen watched the council fleet stumble through her minefield with grim satisfaction. "They're bunching up," she observed. "Trying to use their larger ships to shield the smaller ones. That's good for us." "All ships report ready," Park said. "Waiting for your order." Chen waited. Timing was everything. Let the council fleet push deeper into the expanse. Let them think they were winning despite the mines. "Then strike, now," she said quietly. "All ships execute attack pattern Delta." The human fleet emerged from hiding like predators from ambush. They appeared from behind asteroids, from within dust clouds, from every direction at once, and they had learned from their previous engagements. They did not engage in long-range slugging matches. They moved fast, hit hard, and kept moving. The shield-busting torpedoes proved their worth again. Council ships would suddenly find their shields gone, leaving them vulnerable to conventional weapons. Human destroyers would swoop in, fire everything they had, then disappear back into the dust before the enemy could respond. It was not the kind of warfare the Council understood. They were used to massive fleet engagements where size and firepower decided the outcome. The humans fought like wolves harrying a bear. Bite, retreat, bite again from a different angle. "This is wrong," Counselor Threen said from his observation position aboard a Council command ship. "The humans are fighting with no formation, no coordination. Their tactics make no sense." The Council Admiral in command disagreed. "Their tactics make perfect sense. They know they can't win a direct confrontation, so they're using the environment to their advantage. They're fighting smart, then stop them." "I'm trying." The Admiral studied his tactical displays with growing frustration. Every time his ships moved to engage a human group, the humans would scatter and reform elsewhere. It was like trying to catch smoke. "But they're exploiting every weakness in our standard procedures. We're designed to fight other organized fleets, not this kind of guerrilla warfare." The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides burned and died. The dust clouds filled with debris and corpses. Chen watched the casualty reports climb and felt each loss like a knife. But they were holding. The Council fleet was taking heavier losses than anticipated. The numerical advantage was not translating into victory. Captain Webb's Special Forces teams added another dimension to the chaos. Using small, fast ships, they infiltrated the Council formation and launched boarding actions against damaged vessels. It was insane and suicidal and worked better than anyone expected. Council ships already reeling from external attacks suddenly found human soldiers fighting through their corridors. One such boarding team reached the bridge of a Council battleship and planted explosives. The ship was destroyed from within, and the small human craft barely escaped before the detonation. Webb watched it happen and felt a mix of pride and horror. Pride in his people's courage, horror at the cost. "We're making them pay," he reported to Chen. "But we're paying too. I've lost half my teams." "Pull back to defensive operations," Chen ordered. "We've proven our point. Now we hold." Aboard the Inevitable Victory, Velkson watched his perfect plan fall apart. He had brought overwhelming force. He had learned from previous mistakes. His ships had been ready. And yet the humans were holding. More than holding. They were winning. Status report, he demanded. We've destroyed approximately 150 human vessels, but we've lost over 400 of our own. The casualty rate is unsustainable. 400 ships. 400. The number was staggering. How could a supposedly defeated species inflict such losses? The answer was all around him. The humans had adapted. They had learned. They had developed new weapons, new tactics, new strategies. They had turned every disadvantage into an advantage. And most importantly, they fought with a desperation the Council could not match. For the Council, this was a punitive expedition. For humanity, this was survival. We're receiving reports from other Council members, an aide said quietly. The Methodians are requesting permission to withdraw their fleet. The Gravalians are questioning the cost of this engagement. The Council was fracturing. Velkson felt panic rising. If his allies abandoned him here, the humans might actually win this battle. That could not happen. Would not happen. Send a message to all Council vessels, he ordered. Any ship that withdraws will be marked as traitor. We fight until the humans are destroyed. But fighting spirit alone was not enough. The human tactics were too effective. Their weapons too devastating. And the Kepler expanse itself seemed to fight for them, with its dust and debris creating endless hiding spots and ambush positions. Chen received an unexpected message from Observer Kelthan again. Admiral, I thought you should know. Several Council species are considering withdrawing from the battle. Velkson is trying to hold them in place by threats, but his authority is weakening. Tell me more, Chen said. The cost of this engagement has shocked the Council. They expected an easy victory. Instead, they're losing ships faster than you are. Some species are questioning whether controlling human space is worth the price. This is an opportunity. Chen understood immediately. Can you open a channel to these species? Without Velkson knowing? Yes, what do you intend to say? Chen thought carefully. That humanity doesn't want war with the entire galaxy, that we just want to be left alone, that any species willing to recognize our independence and withdraw from this battle will never be attacked by human forces. You're offering them a way out. I'm offering them peace. If they're smart, they'll take it. Over the next hour, as the battle continued to rage, Chen made her case to 3 different Council species. She was honest about humanity's capabilities and limitations. She acknowledged the damage both sides had suffered, and she offered a simple deal. Leave us alone and we leave you alone. 2 species accepted immediately. Their ships began withdrawing from the battle, ignoring Velkson's furious orders to stay. The 3rd species hesitated, then followed. Within 2 hours, Velkson's fleet of 3,000 had shrunk to less than 2,000, and losses continued to mount. Aboard the inevitable victory, Velkson finally admitted the truth to himself. He had lost. Not just this battle, but everything. The humans had defeated him twice, first by pretending to lose, then by actually winning. His reputation was destroyed. His authority. 3 weeks after the Battle of Kepler Expanse, the human fleet returned to Earth. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiant, looking down at her home world through the viewscreen. The scars were still visible. Cities showed damage from the orbital bombardment, but life had returned. Lights glowed across the night side of the planet. Ships moved in orbit. Humanity was rebuilding. Receiving message from Earth Command, the communications officer announced. They're requesting you come down to Geneva. The Council wants to meet, not the Human Council, the Galactic Council. They had requested a meeting here at Earth. Chen found that appropriate. They had attacked humanity here. Now they would negotiate peace here. The shuttle ride down was quiet. Chen brought Commander Park, Captain Webb, and Dr. Tanaka with her. They deserved to be present for this moment. They had earned it with blood and sacrifice. The meeting took place in what had been the United Nations building, now heavily repaired after the bombardment. The Galactic Council representatives were already there when Chen arrived. Counselor Threen, Observer Kelthan, representatives from a dozen other species. Ambassador Velkson was notably absent. Ambassador Velkson has been removed from his position, Threen said without preamble when Chen asked. He was responsible for the disaster at Kepler Expanse. He has been recalled to face judgment. Chen took her seat across the table from the alien representatives. Then who speaks for the Cherax Empire? I do, said a new voice. A Cherax female entered, her scales darker than Velkson's. I am Coordinator Selen. I have been authorized to negotiate on behalf of my people. The formalities complete, the real negotiation began. Chen had spent the journey to Earth preparing for this moment. She knew what humanity needed. She knew what they could reasonably demand. And she knew the Council was weakened and divided. "Let me be clear about humanity's position," Chen began. "We do not want to conquer the galaxy. We do not want to destroy the Council. We simply want to be left alone. We want recognition as an independent sovereign species with the same rights as any Council member." Threen's mandibles clicked. That was always an option. You could have accepted client species status. "Client species status is slavery with a different name," Chen said flatly. "We will never accept it, ever. You can destroy us, but you cannot make us bow." "You cannot destroy us either," Threen countered. "You won one battle, but the Council has thousands of worlds, millions of ships. You have proven yourselves formidable, but you cannot win a prolonged war." "Maybe not," Chen agreed, "but we can make the cost unbearable. Every system you take will make you bleed for it. Every occupation will face endless resistance. We've studied our own history. We know how to fight insurgencies from both sides. We can make your victory so expensive that you'll wish you'd left us alone." The room was silent for a moment. Everyone knew Chen was right. The Kepler expanse had proven that humanity could inflict devastating casualties. A prolonged war would be ruinous for both sides. Kelthon spoke up. "Perhaps there is a middle path. Humanity gains full independence and Council membership with full voting rights. In exchange, you agree to certain restrictions on military expansion and territorial growth." "What kind of restrictions?" Webb asked suspiciously. "You maintain your current territory but do not expand militarily beyond it for 50 years. You develop trade relationships with Council species. You participate in Council governance. You become part of the galactic community but as equals, not subjects." Chen considered this. It was reasonable. Humanity needed time to rebuild anyway, and having a voice in the Council would give them influence over future policy. "We'd need guarantees. Treaties with enforcement mechanisms, mutual defense agreements with some Council species." "That can be arranged," Kelthon said. Over the next several hours, they hammered out the details. Humanity would be recognized as a sovereign species with full Council membership. The occupied colonies would be returned immediately. Reparations would be paid to help rebuild Earth. In exchange, humanity agreed to limit military expansion for 5 decades and to participate in Council trade and governance. But Chen had one more demand. "The client species system ends," she said. "No more forced subjugation. Any species that wants independence gets it." Threen's compound eyes focused on her intently. "That would destabilize the entire Council structure." "Good," Chen said. "Your structure is built on oppression. It needs to change. And if you want peace with humanity, this is non-negotiable." The Council representatives conferred among themselves in their various languages. Chen waited, knowing this was the crucial moment. If the Council refused, the war would continue. If they agreed, the galaxy would change. Finally, Threen spoke. "The Council will agree. The client species system will be dissolved. Any species currently under client status will be offered full independence. The Charax Empire will be broken up and its former territories will be granted self-governance." Chen felt a surge of triumph. They had done it. Not just won independence for humanity, but changed the entire galactic order. "Then we have an agreement." The treaty was signed that evening in a ceremony broadcast across human space and to the Council worlds. The war was over. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through submission, but through courage and determination. After the signing, Chen stood alone on a balcony overlooking Geneva. The city was damaged but recovering. People moved through the streets below, rebuilding their lives. In the sky, she could see human ships and alien vessels together for the first time in peace. Webb joined her on the balcony. "We did it," he said quietly. "We actually did it. At a cost," Chen replied. 40,000 dead at Kepler alone. Millions more in the initial attacks. Was it worth it? "Freedom always costs," Webb said. "You taught me that. Our ancestors knew it. Now this generation knows it too." Dr. Tanaka appeared with 3 glasses and a bottle of whiskey. "I've been saving this for when the war ended. Figured now was the time." They drank together. 3 people who had carried humanity through its darkest hour. They did not speak much. There was not much to say. They had done what needed to be done. Over the following months, the galaxy changed. The client species system collapsed as world after world claimed independence. The Charix Empire fragmented into dozens of smaller states. The council reformed into a more democratic body where all species had equal voice. Humanity kept its word. They did not expand militarily. Instead, they focused on rebuilding Earth and strengthening their existing colonies. They developed trade relationships with former enemies. Human engineers helped rebuild worlds damaged in the war. Human diplomats worked to ensure the new council structure remained fair, but they also remained vigilant. The fleet was maintained and modernized. New weapons continued to be developed. The colonies were fortified. Humanity had learned the cost of being unprepared. They would never be caught off guard again. Chen retired from military service but remained active in human politics. She served as Earth's primary representative to the Council, ensuring humanity's interests were protected. She found the diplomatic battles almost as challenging as the military ones, but she was good at both. Webb took command of a new peacekeeping force composed of ships from multiple species. His understanding of both military tactics and political realities made him ideal for the role. He worked to prevent the kind of conflicts that had nearly destroyed humanity. Tanaka returned to pure research, developing technologies that would help humanity and its new allies explore the galaxy safely. He never forgot that his weapons had saved humanity, but he preferred to be remembered for his contributions to science rather than war. 5 years after the treaty was signed, Chen gave a speech at the council chambers. It was the anniversary of Earth's surrender, which humans now called Liberation Day. Representatives from hundreds of species attended. 5 years ago, the Galactic Council thought humanity was defeated, Chen said. They saw our surrender and believed they had won. They were wrong. Humanity was not defeated. We were preparing. We were adapting. We were refusing to give up. She paused, looking around the chamber. But this is not a speech about human triumph. This is a speech about what we all learned. The Council learned that force alone cannot ensure loyalty, that oppression breeds resistance, that underestimating your opponents is fatal. And humanity learned something too. We learned that we are not alone in the galaxy, that cooperation is stronger than confrontation, that peace is worth fighting for. She gestured to the assembled representatives. 5 years ago, many of you were our enemies. Today, you are our partners. That did not happen by accident. It happened because both sides chose to change, to grow, to become better than we were. The galaxy is not perfect. There are still conflicts, still injustices, still species that threaten others. But we face these challenges together now as equals, and that makes all the difference. The speech was well received, not because Chen was a great orator, but because it was true. The galaxy had changed. The old order was gone. A new one, fairer and more just, had taken its place. That evening, Chen returned to Earth and visited the memorial that had been built for those who died in the war. 40,000 names were carved into black stone. She found the name of her former executive officer, who had died at Kepler. Found the names of friends and colleagues. Found too many names, but she